Good evening, you're watching Just the News. I'm Amita Balachandra. We start off today's bulletin with the northeast floods. Now, at least 12 people have died in floods and landslides due to heavy rains in Arunachal Pradesh and Assam in the last couple of days. The Indian Meteorological Department has sounded a red alert for Assam and Meghalaya over heavy to extremely heavy rain in the next 4 days. Now, floods and landslides have also affected roads, railways, and bridges drastically. At least 1,500 villages along the Brahmaputra, one of the world's largest rivers, are flooded after water levels rose in the past 3 days. Now, Indian Army personnel have rescued over 2,000 people trapped in Hojai district. The rescue efforts continue. In the meantime, Home Minister Amit Shah has telephoned Assam Chief Minister and assured all possible help from the central government as well. The number of affected people in Assam has in fact doubled to over 4 lakh people in the last 24 hours. For Arunachal Pradesh, the IMD has issued an orange warning with light to moderate rainfall at most places, heavy to very heavy rainfall in the frontier state as well. In the meantime, Tripura and Mizoram have started rationing petroleum products as extreme weather conditions wreaked havoc to connectivity, especially because of what's happened in Lower Assam as well. Now, there are heavy rains that are being reported in Bengaluru as well. 2 laborers were found dead at a pipeline work site in the city. It's also caused flooding in the streets and houses in several parts. Karnataka Chief Minister has announced a compensation of 5 lakh rupees to the family of the deceased and 25,000 rupees each to those whose houses have been affected. Bengaluru Meteorological Center has predicted a cloudy sky and rain in the city for the next 48 hours as well. Moving away from this story now on to what's happening in Punjab. Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann and protesting farmers held a meeting today and reached a compromise. The protest started yesterday, but it's reportedly going to end today. Of the 13 demands that farmers have put on the table, 12 of those have been accepted and there's been some sort of consensus. However, there's no consensus as yet on the demand of giving a compensation of 500 rupees per quintal to farmers whose wheat yield dropped because of intense heat wave in March. Now, farmers have been protesting near the Chandigarh-Mohali border since yesterday after being stopped from heading to the state capital to put forward their demands to the AAP government. They're also demanding the government lower the charges on the extension of electricity load from 4,800 rupees to 1,200 rupees, 10 to 12 hours of power supply and release of outstanding sugarcane payment as well. The protesters are also against the installation of smart electricity meters. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court today has ordered the release of AG Perarivalan, one of the life convicts in the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case. He was behind bars for 31 years. Now, the Supreme Court on Wednesday exercised its powers under Article 142 of the Constitution to order the release of Perarivalan. Now, Article 142 provides a unique power to the Supreme Court to do complete justice between the parties, where at times law or statute may not provide a remedy. Now, Perarivalan was accused of buying the 2 9-volt batteries for Srivarasan, the LTTE man who masterminded this assassination. The batteries were used in the bomb to assassinate Rajiv Gandhi. Former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated on 21st of May 1991 at Tamil Nadu's Sri Perambudur by a woman suicide bomber. Also, the Supreme Court has granted bail to Indrani Mukerjea, the former media executive accused of killing her daughter Sheena Bora in 2012. Now, the Supreme Court has said, and I quote, "We are granting bail to Indrani Mukerjea. 6.5 years is too long a time," end quote. Now, the bail has been granted with conditions such as not leaving the country and not contacting witnesses as well. Indrani Mukerjea approached the Supreme Court in February after a special CBI court denied her bail. Sheena Bora was her daughter from her first marriage, and this was a sensational case with a lot of plot twists. Indrani Mukerjea was arrested in 2015 along with 2 men accused of helping her her driver, and an ex-husband. Now, investigators said that Indrani was angry with her daughter's relationship with Rahul Mukherjee, Peter Mukherjee's son, from an earlier marriage. Moving on to what's happening in Delhi. Now, Aam Aadmi Party MLA Kuldeep Kumar was detained by Delhi police during a protest against the anti-encroachment drive of East Delhi Municipal Corporation in the Kalyanpuri area today. Now, according to ENI, Kuldeep Kumar has said, and I quote, "These people have valid documents. We will not let them be treated unjustly," end quote. Now, 4 properties, including 2 houses and a shop, were demolished during this anti-encroachment drive. In the last couple of weeks, we've seen several other anti-encroachment drives as well in Delhi, like the one that happened in Shaheen Bagh or Jahangirpuri. Meanwhile, tragic news coming in from Gujarat. At least 12 labourers were killed after a wall of a salt factory collapsed in the Morbi district of Gujarat today. Now, the Hindu has reported that at least a dozen of them are still trapped and that rescue operations are underway. Prime Minister Modi announced a compensation of 2 lakh rupees for the family of the deceased and 50,000 rupees for the injured. On to politics news that came in this evening. Delhi LG Anil Baijal has submitted his resignation to President Ramnath Kovind. Several reports have said that Mr. Baijal submitted his resignation citing personal reasons. Now, Baijal had taken over as the 21st Lieutenant Governor of Delhi in December 2016. Also, Gujarat Patidar leader Hardik Patel has resigned from the primary membership of the Congress party months ahead of the Gujarat Assembly elections. Now, Patel was a working president of the Gujarat Congress unit of Gujarat. In his resignation letter, he has claimed that big Congress leaders in Gujarat were, and I quote, "far away from the issues of Gujarat," end quote. He also added, and I'm quoting him, "They are more focused on ensuring that chicken sandwich for leaders who have come from Delhi is delivered on time," end quote. Moving on to environment news, an extremely important piece of study that came in that was reported in the Lancet. The study says that over 23.5 lakh Indians died prematurely due to pollution in 2019, which is the highest among all countries. Now, according to the Indian Express, the majority of the deaths, which is 16.7 lakh of them, were caused due to air pollution. The toll accounted for 17.8% of the total deaths in India in 2019. Now, according to this study, burning of biomass in households was the single largest cause of air pollution deaths in India, followed by coal combustion and crop burning. On to business news right now. The rupee has slipped by 16 paise to touch a record low of 77.60 rupees against the US dollar. Now, it had opened at 77.57 rupees but plunged after United States Federal Reserve Chief said that the Federal Reserve would increase the interest rates to keep inflation in check in the US. Now, according to PTI, it was also impacted by the rise in crude oil prices, which surged by over 1%. On to global news right now, starting off with Ukraine crisis. It is day 84 of Russia's invasion in Ukraine. Amid Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Finland and Sweden on Wednesday have formally applied to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO. In fact, this announcement was made by NATO Secretary General, who said, and I quote, "I warmly welcome the request by Finland and Sweden to join NATO. You are our closest partners," end quote. Now, NATO members will have to discuss the application. However, Turkey has raised objections that could delay or even delay this process. Meanwhile, the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights has said that 3,752 civilians have been killed in Ukraine since Russia invaded Ukraine on the 24th of February. Over 4,062 of them are unknown to have been injured. Most of the recorded civilian casualties were caused by shelling, missile, and airstrikes. One piece of good news before we wrap things up here on this bulletin. This is also sports news. Indian boxer Nikhat Zareen has entered into the final of the 52 kg category of Women's World Boxing Championships after defeating her Brazil counterpart 5-0. Now, she had won gold at the prestigious Stracha Memorial Tournament in February. Now, Nikhat will take a shot at gold on Thursday when she squares off against her Thailand counterpart in the flyweight final. That brings us to the end of this bulletin. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.